Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Comic Shop Talk on the Late Night Collectors community. I'm your host, Nico, and joined with me today, as always, my co-host, Chris. How you doing?
Hey, not too bad. How are you?
Good, not too bad. I think we're a little bit more, should be a bit more of an interesting episode here today. Maybe we both apparently had quite a few yesterday, so yeah, but we're here, guys. We made it. Chris, are you in attendance over there? You're all ready to go? Ready to talk
I'm
some
ready to
comics
go.
or
We got
what?
some, well, got some books to talk about. I don't know if there's any big one, but a few good ones here and there.
But make sure you're subscribed to the channel, everybody. If this is your first time checking out the video, definitely make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, that thumbs up. This is our weekly comic book review show. You can also follow us on Instagram at Late Night Collectors Community. We also started putting out like little video like snippets of kind of our comics that we pick up every week on our poll list, me and Chris, and it gives you a chance to kind of see what we'll be talking about, what we picked up, maybe some of the cool covers, banger covers that we picked up. Chris, a little sassy at the end of your video this week. What was that all about? There's some sass, definitely. You're like, cheers. Like it was like it was kind of like you're like kind of like fuck this video kind of sass on there.
Well, I felt bad that it was just a short video. Just
You
had
know,
like 4 comics. Like, what the heck is that?
I know you're a little disappointed. That's what I mean. It was kind of like, yeah, I guess here's my list.
Yeah, that's what I got.
No, it's funny because you sent me that. I was like, whoa, Chris, at the end of the video, you're kind of like, yeah, whatever.
Well, I guess a few months ago we started cutting down making our cuts, and I guess I'm feeling the effects of those now.
Yeah, I know. You're like, these aren't even great covers. What the hell is this? Oh man, no, that was funny. I definitely picked up on that. That was good. But this week we're gonna be talking about the new comics that came out for the week of March 6th, 2024. And spoiler warning, we're gonna be talking about what happens in the books here today. We're gonna be showing off some of the art, so you might be spoiled on something. You can always read your books and come back and check in with us later if you're worried about that kind of thing. All right, Chris. That all being said,
All right, well, let's talk comics.
cheers.
Cheers.
Not bad.
Ooh,
All right.
there we go.
Get it into you, Chris. First up here on the docket here today, we got Ultimate X-Men #1. I know Chris picked this up. I read this one online.
Yeah,
Big
I know this
highly
Ultimate Universe. They've been seem to be doing well. I don't know how this one's been selling, but I don't know. Why it's an X-Men title, I don't know, but that's an okay story. I kind of like the vibe of it, let's say. But once again, I don't really feel that this is much of an X-Men story or how this is going to fit into their ultimate world, even.
mm-hmm.
But on its own, it was okay. If it wasn't an X-Men title, I probably wouldn't have bought it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of this?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm really conflicted on this because as a comic, I thought it was good as a representation, like you just said, of the Ultimate Universe and of the X-Men, which there's like no indication of any X-Men in this first issue, which I kind of think we both had suspected already about this since Peach Momoko was doing this. Kind of felt like another Demon Tales type thing, like Japanese type folklore almost, like aspects to it. But in this one, more so, like at least that's what their demon wars or whatever those comics were that she was doing
Yeah,
felt like previously, right? And then it was like very loosely adapted like characters from the Marvel universe into some like like a Japanese story of some sort. But the thing is, like the visuals I thought were really great. Like she's really good. Like obviously, like I guess this kind of looks like a painted style, like a watercolor style or something. Uh, this is probably some of the best stuff I've seen her do. And there was a lot of cool like horror aspects to the story too in this. Like it kind of like, and from what I understand, I think she was an artist like previous to doing comics, like in Japan and stuff. I think that she's done horror stuff before.
yeah,
So this kind of was really cool to see because I don't think I mean at least the stuff that I read of those demon stuff that she did in the X-Men stuff or whatever it was with Marvel previous to this. I didn't really see too many horrific type stuff in that. And this, he kind of had some creepy stuff going on, which I thought was really cool. But yeah, so I don't know. It was not a great Ultimate X-Men book, but I thought it was a good book. So eventually she might like make it more so like feel like an X-Men title. I don't know. But so far, kind of interesting. This girl basically somebody she knows died, and then like she went to like the forest, and like I don't know, and then there was like some weird spirit there, and then it kind of got in her head and made her think that she was the reason why this other person like killed themselves. And then there's a whole thing about like they warned them that someone else that they knew were gonna die, and then she heard on the news that like I think a teacher or something, I forgot, somebody that she went to school with,
Yeah.
that she knows, also ended up like killing themselves almost, or hurting themselves, or something happened like that, right? Like kind of felt like almost like that whole like Suicide Forest type shit going on in here. Like apparently that they, you know what I mean? Like I don't know, it had some kind of like scare, like even that panel there with the face behind the like it's kind of creepy. Like there's some creepy aspects to the comic. I don't know. Did you like the story though too? You said as well, or
I didn't mind it, but like I say, this would have been a best story, maybe better suited it like Tales from the Crypt or something like that than an X-Men title. But maybe I'll read this online, but I don't plan on buying any of the future issues.
Yeah. As far as I know, though, it has also been selling well, but I think that's more based on the fact that it's Peach Momoko and people are big fans of hers,
Yeah.
than it is again on the fact that it's an Ultimate X-Men book. So yeah, I dug it for what it was, but it wasn't Ultimate X-Men to me.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's hard to say. So it's gonna be hard for me even to rate this, because I quite enjoyed everything else about it. I thought it was a good comic, but this was cool too at the end. Like she kind of lets you in on some
Oh
traditions
yeah, that
and stuff.
second button thing or something. Yeah.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting. Like there's kind of like some fortune and charm stuff. Again, I think this is more like maybe known to like Japanese culture and stuff like that, if I had to guess, right? So
Yeah.
um, I just again, I'm glad that they included that, because I think some of that stuff would have went over my head if they didn't really point it out, right? So because I didn't even understand the whole like what was so important about that button as well, right? So, anyways, what'd you give this?
I don't know. I guess as a comic on its own, I give it 3.75, but I'll leave it at that. 3.75.
I agree. As a comic on its own, but as a representation of an if we're gonna go by, is this an Ultimate X-Men comic you should be checking out? No, not really. If you're a fan of Peach Momoko, though, I think it's worth checking out, and or just like if of the story we described, because I definitely, I think I'll be reading the next one honestly online, because I did enjoy it. It's not it's not an Ultimate book. It's not an X-Men book as far as I can tell so far, right? So
Yeah.
next up, we got Spectacular Spider-Men #1. Peter and Miles here. What do you think of this, Chris?
Yeah, I just read this one online to see what it's all about, and it was nothing super spectacular, but it was good enough. It's a lot of fancy banter, I guess, between Miles and Peter. I just didn't like the way they're always jumping back and forth between here or now and then. Like half the then part was them just trying to get the order in the coffee shop. But once again, nothing bad about this, but nothing great about it either.
I liked the whole idea that they just wanted to carve out a time in each of their busy lives each week to meet at the coffee shop and actually just chat and like, on like a friends level of some sort, and also to kind of exchange information and like, you know what I mean, just to check in on one another and see
Yeah.
how they're doing. Like I like that. I like that as an idea for the comic, but like you said, it in this first issue anyways, it's kind of mixed in with the action, or I guess the fact that they went and fought I guess what they thought was Miles Warren, like the Jackal or whatever at one point right after this. But so I don't know, like it's a hard mix to have, where it's just like more of just like a grounded kind of storyline, like slice of life type of book, but then you also got to mix in the action, kind of like She-Hulk, I think does does a good job at doing that kind of thing, honestly.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna stick with it for now. I didn't think it was bad, but I didn't have me jumping out of my seat either. Let's say, like, it wasn't like I was like, "Whoa, this is the fucking best Spider-Man comic out," or anything like that.
Yeah, or at least if they were checking in on each other, they could have been talking about sort of what's been going on in their series. Actually, like you figure if they're having coffee, maybe Miles might be asking Peter, "Hey, what the heck's going on?" With gang war or even before that. Like you don't know when this is sort of happening in the timeline.
Mhm.
So they kind of leave no clue. I know they have like a few little kind of clips or quips about what Spider-Man saying he feels like he's been doing this for 60 years, and
Yes.
I think there's another line with Miles saying he feels like he's been in high school for 10 years. So
I
I guess
liked
those
it.
are some fun lines, but
I like this whole sequence too, where Peter was trying to become a regular at the coffee shop, and the guy couldn't fucking remember his order or his name, and it took him like so many tries to
yeah,
actually get
like it
that
looks like
right.
they've been going there for what 3 months there, or whatever, 12 weeks for this to come true or to happen. And I'm sure in 12 weeks, a lot of stuff goes on, like freaking gang war might have happened during that time or that
Mhm.
3 month period.
So
But
we'll see. I think it's yeah, that's what I mean. I'm not completely sold on this either, but I do like. I think it has potential, and I did like kind of the setup, let's say, of this issue, like the whole idea of them getting together. But whether or not they're gonna be able to mix that up with actual events happening in the comics, like you mentioned, or or if the rest of the story is going to offer anything interesting for them in terms of team up adventures. Well, I think it's yet to be seen, but I did like it though. We'll see what ends up happening.
yeah,
But I think I've
I'll see
ordered
how long the series lasts too.
yeah, I think I've pre-ordered the first couple of issues anyway, so we'll see. It's not hasn't solidified a spot on my list, let's say, for my pull list. We'll see what happens here on out. The Humberto Ramos art was good too. He's a
Yeah,
longtime Spider-Man artist. He did a bunch of Dan Slott's time on the book, like he was the artist. So I was really happy to see him. So I felt familiar in that sense too, because I've seen him do Spider-Man a ton, right? So I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. What'd you give this?
yeah, it's a 3.5.
Mm, I'd also give this a 3.75 this week. Yeah. Next up, Void Rivals number 7. All right. Back
Yeah, I just
back
read this one online as well.
back after the break. More Energon universe stuff. What'd you think, Chris?
Yeah, for one coming back after the break, I didn't feel lost in the story or anything, so I thought that was good. Basically, we have those two people are out in the wasteland, and the big bads are, I guess they, what do they bring back, some kind of like bounty hunter almost to go after them, and so it's kind of moving along, and it's not too bad.
Yeah, the way they actually like constructed this guy to go after them was pretty fucking weird too. Because at first,
Well, yeah, because they're almost like meeting on like an astral plane or something, and then when it's revealed that he's just like basically just a torso in a jar.
yeah,
I'm like, whoa, what's going on with this? I thought that was pretty cool.
yeah, and like just the way like they have him like yeah, like you said, his torso's just kind of hanging there, and they kind of slap him together, and he's kind of like this big menacing looking like dude, and people are kind of freaked out by him. It seems like, and like you said, here he looks like a normal person, or at least I guess what he used to look like before he got ripped apart or whatever.
Yeah,
And yeah, they're just floating in this red thing, but I guess they were talking like telepathically or something, like you said, like there's a like they're not actually in this room. It's just in his mind, right? Because then it cuts
yeah,
from this to a close up of him, what he actually looks like now, right? Which is so that whole reveal and the way that was kind of that unfolded, I thought was the best part of the issue. I was just like, it got me like immediately interested in what the like whatever's going
yeah.
on
Like
there.
this
Yeah.
character, this bounty hunter, whatever he is, he seems to. That's definitely piqued my interest.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think other than that, there wasn't really much to this issue. Uh, it kind of but like you said, it was nice to kind of check back in with them after the break, not be confused, and kind of set up. It looks like the direction possibly for this next arc with this bounty hunter guy, right? So it's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
and it sounds like in this wasteland, and the halfway through, there's some sort of oasis or something that he plans on getting or taking them to.
Yeah. Also, the woman in this situation, you can't trust this chick. Like she like intercoms like her people at some point, and like the whole time. And I mean, they kind of alluded to that at the end of the last arc too. But I don't know. It looks like this guy is being, she's not being very truthful with him. Like
Yeah,
right. And it looks like, the way he's seeing it is that they're a team, but I don't know. I think she's kind of playing both sides of the fence here. Right. So
yeah,
I at least
he's up to something.
that's what it makes it look like anyways. Right. So, yeah. What'd you give this?
Yeah, I give it 3.75. I liked it.
Uh, Yeah, I gotta give it 3.75 as well. But I really, really liked that moment in the comic. But it was very good. Next up, Venom 31.
Yeah, it's been one that I just read online as well. I kind of put this on my put on my cut list. I feel bad because this was a good issue. The last issue, I think they were fighting that Garden of Eden or whatever they are. And it's all the different Eddies, and freaking Carnage showed up or something at the end. I don't know what the heck was going on. And I thought, just more of this back and forth stuff was really wearing me out. And this new issue came in here, and I guess they're back on Earth more following Dylan. And I think Carnage is now on Earth fighting Dylan. So I don't know how that works into their story. But yeah, there's some cool panels. And the story moved along, and it was just more of a linear story, so you could follow it pretty easily. And there's not all this freaking time shifting and all that sort of business that that's I don't mind when it's done well, but there's been a lot of it going on in this. And yeah, I think Carnage is there at the end, and I think he's trying to kill Eddie Brock or Dylan Brock, I guess. And he's
Right.
kind of lays it out too, kind of a bad father Eddie is. And they go back to the church where Eddie and Venom sort of first got together, so that was a nice little throwback. I enjoyed this issue. I feel bad that I didn't get it, but I think I'm gonna stick to my guns though, and
Yeah.
just maybe read this online. Of course, when I feel like it stopped, I had to go back to the front to make sure to see who was writing this because I thought it was somebody else, but somehow Torin, I'll say the last name,
Grunbeck. Yeah.
Grunbeck came up with a decent story here, and it wasn't lost in all this gobbledygook started writing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'd give this 3.75. I like this one.
Nice. Next up, I got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin 2 Re-Evolution #1. Long title. Yeah, this is basically the sequel to the Last Ronin comic book series, which I really enjoyed, which I didn't pick up in issues initially. And then I ended up picking up the hardcover of it. And then they came out with another series in between this and the sequel, which was called Lost Years, which kind of served as not only like a prelude to the like what happened before, like some of Michelangelo's adventures before like the series of the first Last Ronin, as well as it kind of it served as a continuation. Like it kind of kept flipping back between two timelines. And it served as like a continuation of the story where Last Ronin left off. But I feel like it was not as good as Last Ronin, and it was almost like they were just kind of trying to set the stage for what eventually this series was going to be, because they didn't even put their top tier talent on that other mini series that they put out between the first Last Ronin and this one. It was called Last Ronin Lost Years. Like they had really good artists on the first Last Ronin, and then this one, that Lost Years one, they didn't have that great of an artist in my opinion. And then this one here, you can just tell right away with this issue, like they're back to on like the high quality art team and writing and everything else. So I was really happy about that. Basically, without spoiling much, but I'm gonna have to spoil a bit, guys. So if you don't want to know about Last Ronin, maybe skip ahead. The Ninja Turtles, this is a future where they're dead and they all died. Splinter's dead, and basically April O'Neil now and her daughter Casey, of course, she's actually the one that's kicking somebody here in this first page of the book. They kind of are like some sort of like a resistance in the future kind of team, essentially, like that's up against the the government, like or the evil factions that kind of rule this kind of post-apocalyptic kind of future, dystopian type of future type thing. So yeah, that's kind of like the setup. And in the first Last Ronin, Michelangelo is the last Ronin. Like he's literally the last of the turtles that had survived everything that happened. And he ends up going up against the son of the Shredder in the Last Ronin and dying at the end of that story. So at the end of that, though, they set up this whole thing where they had a bunch of new little turtles. So now Casey Sir is basically and her mother, like the mother and grandmother to like these 4 new turtles that are in this story. And like in the Lost Years, you see them as kids, but they basically time jumped from that to this second part, the sequel to The Last Ronin now, and they're all actual teenagers in this again. So it is a brand new Ninja Turtles team. They all have like different names. Like one of them's names is Odin, and I forgot all the others. I'm still having a hard time like remembering all of their names because they're very different compared to the other turtles names. But I do like what one of them's name's Odin, and that's probably my favorite of the bunch, just because he's kind of like the more jokey kind of Michelangelo type guy. So he kind of stuck out to me. And yeah, basically this is just like they kind of sum up everything that's happened before this series in like a couple of double page spreads in this issue. The art was really well done. I'm really starting to like all these other new turtles, like these characters. And I guess we'll see where it goes. It's kind of more about deciding what's going to happen now in terms of like the villains, like who the villains are going to be now in this current storyline. They allude to some things in this issue, which I won't get into, but you know, I think not only did this serve as still a good jumping on point for people that maybe didn't read the first Last Ronin, because it kind of summed everything up in this issue. It's just a good, and again, a new good Ninja Turtle story, and like I said, this kind of future setting, which is really, I think, different for the Ninja Turtles, and it's gotten a lot of praise this series because of, like, I guess the mature kind of taking it back to the original black and white Turtles, you know, comics, essentially the Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird ones. So yeah, good stuff. Really like this. I'll give this a solid 4 out of 5, and I'm glad that the art is better again on this series, because that last year's one wasn't really cutting it. And you know, the whole big thing of this was that the turtles actually teamed up alongside their mother in this one here, and that was the first time they've ever been able to go out, and they're so like strapped for for warriors, essentially, like people basically to fight for them, that they actually needed to tap them to kind of come and help them out for once. So like this is them kind of getting thrown into the battle as well now. So it's pretty cool. So yeah, 4 out of 5. I look forward to more. And also there were kind of oversized issues too. This is more of like, it's a little bit bigger than for all your sticklers for that, like Chris, I know sometimes it's not like a DC Black Label size like magazine, which is like a little bit like more long, like to the side. Like this is more just tall. It's taller than yeah. So it's a bit bigger than a regular comic still, as you can see. All right. Next up, we got where'd I go here? Hold on. Kea number 16. This issue here. Kea, still a really great series. This is basically coming to a conclusion, this arc, it seems here. Like there's a lot of big moments that happen in this issue with Kea and the people that she's been helping in in the current storyline. And some moves are made. It looks like kind of we're lining everything up in terms of the bad guys coming to try to take them out. And every issue, it seems like we continue to learn more about her brother's powers in this world and how he's able to access them and how he and adapt to certain situations. So yeah, again, not just a really great fantasy comic with great art, another great issue. And I got to give this 3.75 out of 5. Not too much to add on this one, honestly, just because, like I said, we're coming to the end of this current story arc. But I'm sure big things are going to happen by the next issue. I think that's going to be rounding out this current storyline. So the next issue or two. So very much looking forward to that. And still, it's really, I look forward to reading this every time it comes out. I have a lot of fun with this one. So definitely, it looks like he's in it for the long haul, Wes Craig, in terms of doing this book, which I guess it's doing good enough for him to continue making it. So that's good. Next up, Batman 145, Chris.
I got my issue here. I think it's a pretty decent cover there.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, we're back to business here. It seems we got Batman in jail with the Joker as a prisoner of Failsafe or Zura Ben, whatever. I still can't get that name right. Ben Zura. I don't know.
Zuranar.
Zuranar. I know you get Ben in there. Batman's getting bent over. That's for sure, though.
Zuran Ben.
Zuranar. I got to change that name. That still gets me all the time. But other than that, I thought it was a pretty good issue. I was happy to get back to the main story. And, the Joker seems to be having the time of his life there, even though
yeah,
he's got his broken neck or something. And Batman thinks he's pulling a fast one on him, and I guess takes some parts of his neck brace to break out of the cell. And it was cool seeing him walk through the cell, and you see a bunch of some other villains that are, that I guess have been trapped by Zur-En-Arrh there. And you got Batman running into, I guess, a few of the Bat family up on the streets, trying to let them know where he's at. I think he's trying to still put himself off as Batman, or maybe not Bruce Wayne, but as Batman. Because I think he tried to, get Damian Wayne there back, and he was talking. Was it Jason Todd he was talking to?
Yeah, well, that's when he brings up the face here on his I mean, you could tell it was Bruce's face, but he kind of pulled it up like on a computer screen.
Yeah,
almost
like I was at that RoboCop 2 or something.
Yeah, that was weird. He's like, "It's me, Jason." Or whatever. Yeah, it's me, Jason. Bruce. He's like, "What the fuck?" I had to upload my consciousness to this robot because I died or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, and so that was just weird.
Yeah, and just all the other, I guess the Bat family's, skeptical about what's going on there.
Sure,
but I thought it was pretty good. I didn't mind this one too. I'm just happy to get back to the story, and even some of the stuff that played out in that Joker or whatever origin that had something to do with this here too. So I think those are some good callbacks, and didn't mean that those last couple issues were just filler spaces. Just did have something to pull into this story here.
Yeah, and Jorge Jimenez, of course, back on art. That's always great. And Buddy here showed up at the end. It seemed like that's the guy that taught them how to do all that.
Yeah, and I was under the impression that he was dead or something, but I guess not. And
that's the way it made it seem at the end of that last issue, right? But I guess maybe not, or we'll see what this
is. It seems like he might be just pulling the strings here. He's just happy to see how things are playing out.
Yeah, no, good issue. I agree. And then they even had the backup here where, I guess he wasn't dead, because they even explained in this backup that he has him like inside this box, like he's like that character.
Yeah, it's almost like he's a prisoner, but I don't know why he'd be a prisoner.
Yeah, like the Joker basically. And then it kind of showed like the Joker, like that's the New 52 Joker here. Like he kind of ended up, this is when he like cut his face off, and like he was walking around like with this garage, like this mechanic's uniform on for whatever reason for a while. That was during the whole Scott Snyder era with the Joker, right? So Greg Capullo had drawn that. So that was kind of cool. That I guess they're going to start referencing maybe in the backup here. They were talking about, again, like the different versions of the Joker that we've seen as a result of that guy, I guess, teaching him or whatever, right? So no, I liked it too. It was a good issue. I agree. What'd you give this out of 5?
Yeah, 3.75.
I might have to give it a 4 this week. Yeah, I'm gonna bump it because I did like it than the other things we've just talked about. So I'll give it a 4 out of 5. I give it that bump for the Jorge Jimenez art as well. Next up, we got Birds of Prey number 7, and start of a new arc, and another new artist on this one, Javier Pina, I think it is. Yeah, what'd you think of this, Chris?
Yeah, I just read this one online, and I thought the art for this was great again.
Yeah,
it's still like, it's almost a lot like that Silver Age art, but I don't know, it just seems to be jazzed up a bit or something. I thought it's hard for me to pin down this style, but I do like it. Mm-hmm. And the story, I kind of just breezed through it. I've dropped buying this one as well. And what was the story here? Are they trying to fight? I forget even who they were fighting.
So basically in this one, like it serves as a sort of like, one of my favorite tropes, a semi getting the band together type thing, and they're training with each other, and like they're because now looks like Harley's off the team, and that chick from Wildcats is off the team now, and like they basically cycled out a couple of old people. Batgirl's now working with them, of course, but as basically Oracle, like behind the computer and in their ears type of thing. So that was kind of cool, because that's kind of what she did in Birds of Prey, because that was when she was crippled by the Joker. That's kind of that's when she became the Oracle, right? And then so that was cool to see her back in that position, I felt like, in this issue. But then I guess it's Sin. It was Black Canary's sister, and
they're training her. Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah, there's like almost like they're in a like they went to like
Yeah,
laser
like the
quest
danger
or
room.
something. Yeah. Almost like a danger room, but they went to actually like a laser tag place. And like because there's somebody who was just like, "Oh yeah, your time's up," or whatever. She gives him more money, and like the girl, she's like, "Oh, you're the best," or whatever. That she walks off. It's so cool, right? Like it's just I think they're just using some weird facility as like a trading ground. Like I think like a laser tag place. That's what it seemed like. And then there was like a fun uh they go to meet somebody here, and then there's like a whole thing about them. They all get dressed to the nines, like they go and
Oh
like they get dressed up in swimsuits or something. I guess they're trying to infiltrate some sort of situation because yeah, I guess they're helping out a friend here, and then they all end up going and trying on different clothes and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, there's that clothes that's causing people to go ballistic or something.
Mm-hmm.
And that one person, yeah, that was okay.
And they come out in swimsuits at the end. Well, what'd you give this out of 5?
I gave it 3.75. It was a fun read.
Yeah, I liked it. I like the new artists. I'm always a fan of seeing the team get together and and get new characters on board and stuff like that. So I thought it served its purpose in that regard. So I also give it 3.75 out of 5. She-Hulk number 6, Chris.
Yeah, I think there's another one I just read online is kind of didn't make the cut or made the cut or it's cut. But there's a decent cover and I think there's some fallout between their last battle. They were like fighting in a bar with Captain Marvel and what's that, Hellcat. I guess she's getting some some grief from her boss, and she runs into those, I forget those two guys' names, but she was defending them because they were getting kicked out of their place. So she decides to have them stay with her, and she gets suspended from her job for 2 weeks. And it's kind of all this bad luck happening to her. And she goes home to tell Jack of Hearts that of all her troubles. He just seems more pleased as punch that she's been suspended. And they decide to use that time to go on some space vacation near the sun, where he'd be able to use that radiation from the sun so he wouldn't suck it out of I guess She-Hulk. And then I think they have some fun there on some crazy, I don't know, some like, I don't know, space resort.
Yeah, space resort.
So it wasn't too bad. And then I think She-Hulk befriends somebody while she's waiting for Jack of Hearts, and it seems like this person that she befriended has some sort of history with Jack of Hearts. So that was okay stuff.
Yeah, it's gonna get real complicated next issue because she's like, oh yeah, she really makes this woman feel better about herself because she's kind of down in the dumps, and then as soon as Jack like rolls up and he actually finally got dressed, because there's a whole funny scene where she's like, I'm gonna go get dressed, and she comes out and she's like in this nice like dress, and like she went and got ready and like like dressed up to the nines, and she's like, you're still wearing the same thing. She comes out and Jack's just sitting there in his like same fucking clothes. She's like, okay, well, I'm gonna go down to the bar then you get ready. And then he actually comes out in the suit here, and looking like fucking James Bond or something here. And he rolls up and she's like, what? Jack of Hearts? Like, so yeah, it could get sticky next. Although the preview of the cover of the next one is all of them in a hot tub or something together, right? Or they're
no, maybe it's
menage a trois.
More the new morals.
Right. All right. So what'd you give this?
Let's give it 3.5. I could give a 3.5 plus. It was good.
Yeah.
But nothing crazy going on.
I liked it. I'll give it a 3.75 out of 5. Next up, Captain America 7. All right, Chris, it's the return of the chopping block. It's back, buddy. And I'm dropping this for good. I dropped it in issues and I read this one online these last couple of issues. And yeah, I'm out. I can't even make heads or tails of in this issue. It's such a fucking departure from the last story arc. It's basically by the end of it, like Cap is now being assigned to aid in some sort of heaven versus hell type battle. A woman shows up that seems to be an angel. There's a bunch of weird shit that happens where she like arranges for him to like meet her somewhere. And then there's like a lot of like representation of this kind of stuff going on where it's just like you know, like where they don't straight up say like this chick's an angel, but basically you get the idea, it seems like, throughout the issue that that's what's going on here. And I guess whatever these demons were, this is what I understood from it anyways. At the end of it, it felt like some Spawn fucking heaven versus hell type shit. And I'm just like, this is not what I'm into with Captain America. I'm sorry. I'm out. I'm like, you know, they had the whole kind of like the whole Nazi storyline in the first arc and everything going on there. And this issue started out good. It was like, oh yeah, I finished fixing up this tenement, like the building from my childhood. That's all great, you know, like kind of touching on like what happened previous to this. And then it just like goes headfirst into this fucking nonsensical, weird fantasy story that they plopped him in the middle of. And there's this thing where like he pulls out a note that had the address of where he's supposed to go to meet this woman. And he's like, then I looked again and I swear there was additional writing on it. Like just shit like that. And like the place was like this old school movie house. And like all the attendees inside of it, I guess, were maybe people like heaven people. You know what I mean? Like it's really fucking weird. And I don't know what the hell this was. I'm out. So that's all I gotta say. The chopping block has returned. I'm dropping this. So you know, interesting idea. I wasn't ready for this type of storyline. It really changed up the tone of this book. And you know, like, yeah, look, he's got like an angelic shield.
Yeah.
That's enough of this fucking heaven, hell. Like this. Like,
Maybe he's gonna beat the Punisher in like Frank Castle and wherever he's stuck.
So I'm out. I gave this like a 3.
Eesh.
Yeah, maybe 2.75. I really just liked it. I just didn't like the idea. I didn't like the direction that the book went in. Like you said, we talked about it at the end of the last arc. Both of us read the first arc, and it had enough of at least 2 storylines going on in one storyline. If not, we didn't love all the other stuff going on with the present day demon stuff. But this was just like a full departure from all of that. And like, it was just like telling a whole new story, which really delving even deeper into this whole heaven, hell, demon fight shit. So I'm just like, that was the main thing we didn't like about the last arc. So like, you know,
They leaned right into it.
Yeah, no. So I'm out. Shazam number 9. I'm also out. Chop and block. I think Mark Waid and Dan Mora are off this book in the next issue or something too. I saw, like, I think they're stepping away from this title and someone else is coming in and going to be continuing to write this book. So, and Mora isn't even the artist on this one. It was Emanuela Lupacino, who I actually really like. I actually have a commission of hers on my wall. I like her. I have a Wonder Woman of her somewhere here, by her. And this had the issue. It was like kind of like a one shot of the Creeper, who's always been like a weird character. And, you know, as like whatever, a one-shot issue, you know, touching base with this character, it was fine. He comes on like the Reacher, the Creeper is this Jack Ryder guy. Like he's basically like a news anchorman. And like he brings on Billy Madsen to his show for whatever reason, because he's a popular podcaster. Because that's media these days, right? And he's just like, hey, and he's like talking to this kid as like an equal because he's in the biz. He's like, what do you mean? You have a podcast or whatever. He's like, oh man, this is gonna do great for my ratings. and then he like turns the screws on to him. Like he basically starts like, you know, putting him on the spot and doing like, you know, trying to make him look bad as like a news person kind of can in these expose type of interviews things, right? And by the end of it, like he basically just takes a shit on Shazam, like talks shit about him and tries to hype up the Creeper, who is his alter ego identity. So you know, so then he goes to like offer him a drive home because he's like, oh, you took the bus here, I'll give you a drive. And then he brings him into the car and he's got like some like cue cards on his seat. He's like, yeah, those are my warm-ups before I do the shows every day on the news. You should give it a try. And he's like, oh, okay. So he starts saying words on it. And this fucking guy tricked him into saying the words to turn into Shazam. Because he's like, I knew it. I knew you were Shazam. And then then he turns into the Creeper. And they go out and have like a team up of sorts. He kind of drags him into some scenario to help him that he didn't fucking have any right to like be like, he didn't want to be involved in it. He just got kidnapped in his car here and like taken for a drive. And yeah, that's basically it. At the end of the issue, there's Metamorpho because he talks shit about him called him a freak during his his news his show with Billy. He called Metamorpho a freak. At the end, he kind of goes into his house, and Metamorpho it turned himself into a pail of water because the element of water. And like was above his door frame, the guy who was the creeper, and just fucking splashed all over him at the end as like a practical joke. So yeah, so that's basically that was this issue in a nutshell. Yeah, there you go. He's like, I'll get you for calling me fucking freak or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm out. Just because, again, it's been fine. It's never been my favorite book. I think, give my favorite of the week, actually, I think to the last issue, though, because that was the culmination of that first big arc. And I thought it was a lot of fun. But I'm not a big Shazam fan to begin with. I'll read it depending who's doing it. And with Mark Waid leaving it and Mora leaving it, I'm done. So I'm out on this issue, I think. I'll give this a 3.5, though.
Yep, nice.
Doctor Strange, number 13, Chris.
Yeah, I just read this one online. That cover really drew me in. That's a great cover.
Yeah.
And the story, I think you must have liked this story. This is one of your favorite tropes there, getting the band back together or getting the band together.
Yes.
I just didn't mind it either, but it didn't seem like the characters that they got together, they had a proper voice for them. I like Taskmaster. I don't know why he was brought in. Like, I'm sure, Doctor Strange can find better people than Taskmaster to join in, but I'm glad he was there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And whatever, it's almost like some D&D type of game that they go into. And, and I guess Doctor Strange is kind of confused on how this game has so much power. And I guess at the end, it reveals why this game has been, I guess, so powerful or causing so much grief.
Mm-hmm.
So as a story, I thought it was a good story.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Of course, I had to love this because of that aspect of it. The whole issue was basically them, giving everybody their screen time and him basically collecting everybody specific to the type of role they would play in the actual D&D type game, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Like, we need a cleric or whatever. Oh, we need a thief, so he went to the Black Cat. I mean, we need a priest, so he went to the Fist of Khonshu, like the other Fist of Khonshu, which is that's not Moon Knight because he died, but that's the other, like, apparently, like, to a fist. If you read any Jed McKay's Moon Knight, that's kind of that character from there. And it's funny you say about the voice because he has written all these characters in different series before. He did a Taskmaster mini series, which I was actually a big fan of back in the when he first started getting gigs, I think at Marvel. And I like the Taskmaster as a character a lot. So like, again, this is just like you're right though. It's a weird fucking assortment of characters that he's put together here for this team, but that's kind of what makes it fun and offbeat. Yeah, it's kind of fun and offbeat at the same time in that respect. So, and then I guess the big reveal is you find out the guy who's basically owns this whole D&D like game, the one that sets this in motion or has in the past is Baron Mordo, right? So of course a longtime Doctor Strange villain. So I like this moment too where Clea's like, why are you with some other good-looking white-haired woman or something before this task? Like, why couldn't I have come? And then like she comes, it's like, all right, Doc, it's like, Doc, we need to get the hell out of here, like, and get this over with already. I gotta go or whatever. Like, and she's like, oh, you're horrible, never mind.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, worried about her.
Yeah, she's trash.
She's like, oh, you're a disaster. Never mind.
Yeah.
I liked that. That was good. But yeah, as soon as they got transported into this world, they all kind of had the different costumes. So like if you're into like D&D or fantasy and stuff like that, I think this is also worth checking out in that sense, right?
Yeah,
like,
when they got transported or changed into the new costumes, I thought they could have done a better job on that. None of those costumes were spectacular, or anything. Like, they're all pretty just freaking standard stuff. So I thought they could have done more with that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it was a good issue.
Yeah. So what'd you give this out of 5?
I give it a 3.75.
I'll give this a 4. Yeah. 4.
Yeah, you can give me a 4. I'll give it a 4.
Yeah. Next up, we got Thanos, number 4, Chris. The conclusion of this weird fucking mini series. What'd you think of this?
Well, I think for an ending, I think they sort of,
yeah,
they nailed it. I think, the beginning. I don't know if I read the whole series. I read the beginning. This has just been 4 issues, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I might have missed issue 2 or 3 or just kind of leafed through them.
I think you missed
But this,
the second
like,
one. Yeah, you missed one of
yeah.
them.
But this last one with the battle between I guess Death and Thanos, I thought that was pretty good.
Good throwdown.
I thought it should have been, like even more, like have more weight to it or something. And the one thing I don't like is that at the end of this issue, basically this whole series has been just an ad or a preview for some sort of Thanos event that's coming in the summer this year. So that always is like a bit of a kick in the teeth.
Yes. Although kind of cool where they ended it off, because Thanos essentially, it looks like he has like a new power stone of sorts, like if you want to call it like like, of course he's known for the Infinity Stones shit, but
Yeah, I guess you got a Death Stone now or whatever.
yeah,
He's
he's got
death in that stone.
death in a yeah, he's basically trapped her. But I agree. I thought all the fight scenes were really cool when they actually threw down him versus Death, and even like the way that she was able to retaliate up against like the superheroes, like the
Yeah, when I like didn't the Illuminati almost have to fight with Thanos because
yes,
if Death beats Thanos, then that there's some like void or something that gets created.
yeah,
That would be the end of the universe.
and the cool thing about it too was that they it didn't matter like whose side they were helping. They couldn't even get in the way of either of them. Like they got batted off very easily by Death and Thanos in this. So like the Illuminati couldn't even stop them. Like they really just had to let them do their own thing and actually have this final battle here in this issue. So yeah, I agree with you in terms of them sticking the landing. I thought it was a satisfying conclusion. I just thought it was a mess of a start to the miniseries, and
yeah,
but I think somewhere along the line it kind of got interesting and it was able to sort itself out. So it wasn't bad, but it was a weird fucking story at the start. I just didn't feel like they explained.
yeah. This should have been just a one shot, like
Yeah,
an oversized issue.
especially if it was going to also count as a prelude of sorts to the lead
Yeah,
into this event, right? So which I don't know how I feel about that. I think it's good that they're doing a Thanos event, but I'm not usually big on events to begin with, so we'll see how that goes. But anyways, what'd you give this?
I got 3.75.
Yeah, I agree. All right, next up, Weapon X-Men #1, Chris.
Yeah, I bought this. I buy into the stupid freaking hype. Where is it? Oh, here it is.
I almost did. I'm glad I did it.
Yeah.
I love getting taught my pronouns by Multiversal Wolverine.
I don't even know why this is even being published. Like, there's so much X business going on right now. This has no reason to be out now. They could, like, the story isn't part of any, like, timeline that's going on. They could put the story out whenever they wanted to. And for whatever reason, they decide to put it out now. And basically, the only thing that sold it was that was, like, Weapon with the Weapon X-Men. Like, if it was, like, freaking Wolverines, I don't know if I would have bought it. And the Wolverines they chose, they weren't, the only one I do sort of I'm interested in is I guess that Jane Howlett or whatever. She seems pretty good. And surprisingly, the zombie Wolverine.
Yes, that's my favorite. That's my favorite. Is the Marvel Zombies Wolverine? Yeah, he's the best.
He's got some good lines in there. Like, when I saw him, I go, how are they gonna have a freaking zombie Wolverine? But he does play a big role in this, where he.
Yeah,
and they go to some whatever. There's another sort of sliders where they all get just dropped off in some world where they don't know what's going on. And it seems in this world here, everything is fine. And I guess that was just a ruse. But somehow one of the Wolverines hook up with Jean Grey, just like out of nowhere. It's like, oh, well, don't worry, and whatever. Then you see a scene where they kind of are holding hands, and then you just kind of cut Fate to Black there or something.
Yeah, the Apocalypse Wolverine, yeah.
Yeah, and then I guess that zombie Wolverine, once kind of shit hits the fan there, he starts going out there and turns everybody in that world into zombies. And then what's that other Wolverine says something, hey, can you control these zombies? He's like, nope, because they're going after everybody. We better get out of here. And I guess that's it. And I think doesn't the world just get freaking imploded at the end again? Which is their top with the, or no, they want to implode the world, but there's still like a few billion, I guess, life forms or humans there, whatever, that they take to some safe space. But for trying to save the world, they're destroying a lot of worlds, and it seems even that original X-Men one that sort of was a prelude to this. That world ended up getting freaking zapped at the end too. So I don't know.
I did like I agree with you. My favorite part about it was the zombie Wolverine, because even like his whole solution to them winning at the end of the day here in this issue was him bringing a bunch of like a zombie horde back from his world into this current timeline, and then they're like, oh look, don't worry guys, I brought some friends or whatever. They're like, yeah, but then we're gonna have to be attacked by them. He's like, oh yeah. He's like, well, that's not good. And he just starts running. I thought,
Isn't there one scene where freaking one of the Wolverines kind of slices a piece of his calf to feed
yeah.
Wolverine?
Old man Logan. Yeah, he slices a piece of his leg off because he's like, even though like he got zapped by Jean Grey, and it's supposed to like as a mental blocker or something, supposed to like make it so he's not hungry, like he doesn't want to eat them, right? But then he's like, I still like doing it though. He's like, I can't get over it. I gotta eat something. Come on. He's like, even though I don't have the hunger, I just like to do it, right? Like, so he's like, all right, quit your whining. And like you said, he like sliced off a piece of his leg and gave it to him. Yeah, that was good, man. But yeah,
The more we talk about it, the more I'm starting to like it. But when I was reading, it's like, oh come on, I don't need this right now.
Anyways, what'd you give this?
I give it a 3.5. I'd want to give it more than it deserves.
Yeah, I'll give it a 3.5 as well for Zombie Wolverine. I did like those moments. But I think this is also going to be like a 4-issue miniseries, I think.
Yeah, it seems every issue they're going to probably pop into a different world and see what's going on. So they got that same storyline going on with Dead X-Men too. So you almost have two similar stories, running at the same time, which isn't fun.
Next up, and finally, X-Men 32 here.
Yeah, hey, there we go. Guess this is the big book of the week. That wasn't so bad. There's some good fighting in there. Get the Lockheed's back. I just didn't like the stuff with Cyclops. He's like, I still don't understand how the humans and the mutants now have kind of just teamed up out of nowhere. I don't know if that was maybe it was explained somewhere else in some other issues. But the stuff I'm happy to see with Emma Frost back there. She's doing her thing, kind of almost like the Professor X type of archetype there, just kind of pulling all the strings from the back, trying to get everybody together. It's nice seeing Magic back, even though she's looking a little worse for wear there. It seems she has a whole bunch of nanites or something that are doing some dirty business to her inside. And yeah, just a lot of good stuff happening. Their X-Men are fighting back finally, so it's good to see. But the stuff, like I was saying, with Cyclops, where I think he was talking with that doctor, or where it was Magic or something, and basically saying, I was letting myself get tortured that whole time just to figure out what's going on, and I could have escaped whenever I want. I know that didn't seem to be the case, and maybe he could have, and if he could have, he should have. But anyways,
I loved all the players in this issue. Like everybody that showed up, I thought, yeah, these are like some of my favorite X-women as well, right? And characters, honestly, on the X-Men. Like it was nice to see Polaris rip the nanites out of Magic's bloodstream. Like
I like her being back. She comes back pretty strong. Because before she was never seen to be such a big threat or a big force, and she really is here. They're really freaking leaning into the Omega level status of her, I guess.
And this kind of tied in some of the stuff that was been going on in Iron Man with Emma, and like I liked seeing Emma, and I like Kitty Pryde as Shadowcat. So yeah, I was, and Lockheed's back. I was really loving all of them being in this same comic, honestly. But at the end of the day, I think we were kind of correct in saying like there's not much story left in this series as a result of everything kind of going on in the other two main closers on the Krakoa era, right? So as much as this has been enjoyable still, I just don't think there's too much more that he has to say that he isn't that's being left on the table for the X-Men main series, right? Which is kind of a shame. But there's a lot going on in the other series, in the Rise of the Powers of X, right? And the other one,
Yeah.
Fall. So
What's that? Knowing that this is all going to end in 2 or 3 months, that kind of takes away a bit of the fun of the story, let's say, because it's ending. Like if you didn't know it was ending, you're kind of more involved or into the story to kind of, I think you're wondering how things are going to turn out. But pretty much, they're going to win in the next 2 months somehow. And then this is, you're just kind of seeing all the steps that are going into it.
Yeah. What'd you give this then?
I give it a 3.75 though. It's a good comic.
Same. 3.75 out of 5. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this week. Honestly, like I think like the last, like including this week, last 3 weeks have not been spectacular. Like I think we're we've had a lot of middle of the road type books and ratings these last couple of weeks. So hopefully here's to having some much better weeks in the weeks ahead. Just because sometimes we come here, we talk about 10 great books, like, and then other weeks it's like we talk about, I feel like 2 or 3, right? So
yeah,
a lot of these stories as they continue, we kind of get these middle of the road weeks, right? So I didn't want to express that because I felt like that's been like kind of the mood the last couple of weeks. I feel like the comics that we've been talking about, right? It's just like there's barely any contenders, I feel like, when it comes to our favorite book of the week at this point, right? So we'll see. Ebbs and flows, right? It's kind of ups and downs as always. But yeah, Chris, what are you looking forward to reading next week?
Let's see. Next week, I think I'm getting. That's not it. Where did I put it? Well, I think there was Transformers 6. Oh, there it is. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Transformers 6. We're getting Fall of the House of X. I don't know, whatever. 2. Amazing Spider-Man 45. So I think that's a new storyline going out there. We got some new artists in there. I saw a preview for that, so that's looking good. I think Action Comics 1063. I'm not sure if I ordered it or not, but sometimes those throw it in the box. I'll probably read Dead X-Men and Immortal Thor, but it's another quiet week.
Yeah, no, mine's a decent sized week. I got Action 1063, Amazing Spider-Man 45, Avengers Twilight 4 comes out next week.
Avengers Twilight 4, yeah, for sure.
Fall of the House of X number 3, Fish Flies number 5 comes out next week. A new Rick Remender book comes out next week, Napalm Lullaby number 1. We'll see what that's all about. And like you said, Transformers 6, which is the last drawn Warren Daniel Johnson issue, unfortunately, but that's been really great. And then in terms of things, those are things I'm picking up. In terms of things I might check out online, read online, you got the conclusion of Wesley Dodd's Sandman number 6 comes out. Dark Spaces Dungeon number 4. That's been a great series by Scott Snyder. Tom King has a new miniseries coming out next week called Helen of Windhorn. I'm going to check out the first issue. That's from Dark Horse Comics. I don't know what that's all about. It said basically this is like Conan meets Wizard of Oz. So I don't know what the fuck that means. But anyways, I like Tom King, so I might give that a whirl. Then like you said, Dead X-Men 3 I'll read. Wolverine 45 comes out next week. So that for sure.
Oh, yeah.
That, you as well, yeah. And I might check out this Black Widow and Hawkeye miniseries that comes out next week as well, too. That first issue that comes out. I always kind of like those two together. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's what we kind of looking forward to reading next week, guys. Any other? I forgot to mention. Oh fuck, stupid me! I forgot to say this at the top of the show. But rest in peace to Akira Toriyama. I got my Dragon Ball shirt on right now, one of the many. And I got a bunch of I got a lot of Dragon Ball toys and other things, all the mangas. So a huge fan of Dragon Ball, and the cartoon is like a essential part of my childhood. So he just passed away he actually passed away March 1st, but they gave it a week or so to kind of like actually make that announcement, I guess, to the public that he passed away. And it's shitty. This was one of those ones that really hit me. I was like, oh fuck, that's and he was really involved in a lot of like ongoing plans of like things happening right now with the future movies and cartoon and all this kind of stuff. And obviously those things will continue without him, I'm sure. But he was in his 60s, late 60s, and you know what I mean. So it's a real shame. And what a legend, though. Left so much behind, honestly. Like, and he just didn't even just do Dragon Ball. Like, he inspired like the artwork for like a bunch of video games. You know, Dragon, I think it's called Dragon Quest. I think he did the designing on Chrono Trigger, which is a fucking classic video game. Like he's you know, in cartoon and animation and fucking even as a manga artist. Yeah, just like very influential to like so many people today. And everyone fucking knows Dragon Ball, you know what I mean? Or makes Dragon Ball references. Like if you know, even you know, I know you're a fan of Dragon Ball, right, Chris? Like we've
Yeah,
talked
for
about
sure.
it before. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's fun stuff. So I mean, I'm yeah, I was saddened to hear that this week. So I wanted to give him a shout out, of course, because you know, for people that don't know and just know the cartoon is that he's a you know, a mangaka, like an artist, and that's kind of where he started, like was doing the his actual Dragon Ball manga, right? That basically then turned into the Dragon Ball Z, and then became a cartoon later on, right? But this was his first and only of his like kind of big hits, let's say. Like he did a bunch of other mangas that they have a book out as well of that kind of collect a lot of his shorter works. But this is obviously his most famous thing that he's ever done, right? So that's it. It'll outlive him, right? So I mean, it's a shame, but hear that. But yeah, shout out to him. All right, Chris, your favorite book of the week, man.
That was a tough week again, but I might just give it to Batman.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good pick. Yeah, it was one of my higher rated books for sure this week. So for me, like I would say as a runner up, Batman would probably be my third choice. I would say the new Ninja Turtles, but I got to give it to my boy Doctor Strange, number 13, of course, because I love Doctor Strange. This has been a really fun series. And this was kind of like a standout issue, I think, of hopefully a fun arc ahead of us. And like you said, I am a sucker for that trope of getting all these characters together. And I liked the novelty of it being that these are all characters he's done series of and has written and stuff like that, and kind of bringing them into the fold and figuring out how to piece together this type of story with these people. I thought it's pretty fun so far. So I look forward to more of that. So yeah, Doctor Strange 13 is my favorite of the week this week. All right, then that all being said, that's going to be it for today, guys. We will see you guys next week. Chris, thank you as always. And we'll catch you guys later.
All right, cheers.
Cheers.